Welcome to Thoughts Can Change Your Life with me, Reverend Lee. So last night, Jean and I finished watching the last episode of Ted Lasso for the second time. And one of the things that I loved about Ted Lasso is the little perks of wisdom that it brought in. And in the first season, there was one about curiosity. And I just never stops to amaze me as to how many people have stopped being curious. And so I thought I'd talk about why be curious. Well, the number one reason is that if you're curious, you're talking about expanding your mind. You're talking about seeing a greater sense of of possibility. And when you do that, you open yourself up for the possibility of having a new experience. It opens you up to a higher level of awareness. You see, without curiosity, your level of awareness becomes static. And when your level of awareness becomes static, you're not thinking anything new. When you're not thinking anything new, guess what? You're creating your life, just repeating it over and over and over again. You're actually in a gigaloop where it's just the same thing over and over and over again. But if you're curious, new things come up, new possibilities, new way of living life. And don't you love that? Don't you just love that? When you're curious, you're moving. Yeah, you're moving. Your mind is moving. Your mind is moving to an expansion. When you're not curious, your mind is locked in, boxed in. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times institutions that we live in don't like us being curious. They want us to just blindly believe everything. What institutions? Well, let's start off with religion. I was born and raised a Catholic. I was given the parameters in which I could live in. These are the beliefs I had to have. But my parents sent me to the seminary at the age of 15. I lived away from home for a year and I wanted to go. Why? I wanted to live away from home. But when I got to the seminary, it was highly indoctrinating toward the Catholic way of life. And one of the things that we would be in classes and stuff, and I'd be curious and I'd be asking questions. And I was told to just accept on faith. And I never did accept on faith. I kept being curious and more curious and more curious. And I was labeled as a rebel. And at the end of one year, it was a mutual thing, but I chose not to go back because I was too curious. And they chose that it wouldn't be a good thing for me to come back because I didn't blindly believe in what was necessary to believe to move on in my vocation, so to speak, to become a priest. What a gift. What a gift that my curiosity took me out of that boxed in reality. And so what did I do? I just started living life and I started pursuing the idea of a corporate life, much different than my father. I was curious as to what that was about. And I had that. And then I came back. What did I want to do most in life? I wanted to teach spiritual principles. I didn't want to teach religion. If you've been following me long enough, you know I am not religious. I do not believe in dogma. I do not believe in being confined. I believe that each of us is unique, whole, and perfect as we are. And there is a power within us that responds to the nature of our thought, and that we are the creators of our lives through our thinking. I love that. And what I love about it is I can prove it for myself. And when I can prove something for myself, it makes me curious as to what else can I prove? What else can I create? How much power does this mind have? And when you think about it, curiosity has no ends, does it? So you'll be what? Eternally creating? Isn't that great? When do people die, folks? They die when They're not expanding. They're not growing. They're not curious. When you're curious, there's always something that juices you, always something that you can't wait to try in life. I love curiosity. I love that my granddaughter, when she was here, questioned everything, and we got to give her possibilities, not answers. We got to give her possibilities. And with that, you open up that little mind. It's not a little mind, but it hasn't been exposed to a lot yet. So you open it up to be curious. Why does a giraffe have a long neck? What's that? Well, maybe it has a long neck because that made it easier for it to eat out of the trees. Oh, maybe it's a long neck so they can see further. Oh, when you start playing these games with Claire and she just opens up, well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The question is, don't just do that with kids, do it with yourself. So are you curious? Where's the nature of your curiosity pointed? Do you believe that you can heal? Do you believe you have the power to heal your own body? Do you believe you have the power to work with others and help them heal their bodies? Do you believe it? That's why on Saturdays at 10 a.m., we always do a healing through love session. Why? We're practicing. We're seeing demonstrations by doing that, by going into meditation, by planting seeds into the subconscious mind, by sharing love together. That's why we do the healing sessions every Saturday in a little less than 2 hours from now. And if you'd like to join, you've never been, you're curious as to what this might be, just go to agapespiritualcenter.com, click on the calendar. The Zoom link for Healing Through Love will be there, and join me at 10 o'clock. I'll guide you through it. All you got to do is be willing to open up, to be curious, to expand into a different level of awareness that is a part of who you are. It's real interesting. It's like last night, Gina and I went out and we shared some Mexican food. And the waitress that we had was a very, very, very shy person. Interesting, a shy person as a waitress. But she was very shy. And I was curious as to whether I could get her to open up. But I knew with her, I had to take it slow. And then what really opens people up is when you ask them non-threatening personal questions about themselves and you show interest in them as a person. And then they open up. And then you got the feedback. And then you could ask other questions, be curious. What makes them this way? Why are they doing this? What's this? How do they feel about what's going on? Yeah. It just opened up a whole new possibility. See, when you're curious, people are interested in sharing with you. But if they think you're trying to lock them into a way of thinking, you're trying to pigeonhole them, or you want something from them, I don't want anything from anyone other than sharing, companionship. I love sharing the journey. Don't you love sharing the journey? It's a lot more fun sharing the journey with other people. What if you had a group of people and you were curious and you built and you piggybacked off each other's curiosity? Think about how quickly you could evolve, how quickly you could go further. I invite you today, everything you see, everything you do, be curious. Why am I doing that? How much more can I be? How much more can I experience? What are my other options? What are other possibilities for me today? Do I just really have two? You never have just two. You always have infinite possibilities, but you got to be curious for them to show up. Be curious. You'll love your life more. And isn't that what it's about? Being able to say, I love my life, and life is loving me right back. With that, everyone, make it a great day. Until tomorrow, aloha.